Mark Stewart from the Milwaukee Journal Sentinel, Wisconsin Badgers beat reporter, joins me here. And Mark, this conversation is a little different this week than it was certainly 2 weeks ago, even last week. Coming off a win over Purdue, the Badgers I still felt like were maybe just kind of holding on for dear life. And then they went to New Jersey and defeated Rutgers 42-7. They were not the favorite heading into that game. It was close. I mean, I don't think it's a massive upset, but it seems to have definitely changed the vibes around this program. My pick was certainly very incorrect. I had predicted Rutgers to win. I know you at least still had Wisconsin winning in the Journal Sentinel. Do you feel the vibes shift a little bit? Does it feel like this team has gone from a program that is, I don't want to say really holding on for dear life, but like it was not looking good, and now, well, I don't know if we think they can beat like Penn State and Oregon in the latter half of the season, but at least it feels like they have a puncher's chance now, showing what they've showed the last 2 weeks. How does it feel being around the Badgers right now? Are they sensing that little shift in vibes?
I mean, you definitely feel a different, vibe is the right word. I mean, these guys, they work all week and play one game for 3 hours. And, when you lose it definitely cast a pall on, the next week and kind of adds a different edge to, what they got going on. But the last 2 weeks, getting that win over Purdue was huge. Following it up with a performance like they had at Rutgers, the vibe is, one of growing confidence. I mean, we talk a lot about Braden Locke here, and, he just, in a lot of ways, I feel like he's symbolic of how this team is feeling. I mean, he feels when he comes into do these interviews, and you can't judge everything off an interview, but he's just very composed. He's very calm. He just seems very confident in what they're doing right now. And, obviously that's what two big wins can do. Now, the key is, you got to complete this run. They got to go down to Northwestern and play well, I think, for the vibe that the fans might be feeling, for that to continue. I think they need to go down there and handle business and beat the Northwestern team. That's, to me, is solid, but very beatable.
Yeah, Northwestern has snuck up on the Badgers before. Their second-year coach, of course, Kettle Moraine High School product David Braun. I'm going to talk about that game in just a minute. But looking now at what this team has done, that's back-to-back weeks that they allowed single-digit points. Four out of the 6 games this year, they've allowed 2 touchdowns or less, and the opponents haven't always been the best. But I feel like we haven't talked a lot about the defense. The offense kind of being stuck in gear is what we had kind of focused on, and now they seem to have broken out. The defense has been pretty steady. Now, they gave up big numbers against Alabama and USC, but what's working for the defense right now? Do you feel like they have also hit a point where they're essentially performing at the peak of their powers, or are there even more areas you think this team is still going to improve as this year goes on?
I mean, obviously, they've shown great signs of improvement. I mean, the thing that you're hearing players talk about these last couple of weeks is the play of the defensive front, which is something that was a big question mark after James Thompson, was lost for the year. And really, it was a question even when he was healthy. And, these last 2 weeks, especially against Rutgers, a team that's kind of a smash mouth team, they line up and essentially tell you, hey, we're running right at you. Can you stop it? This was a week where, Luke Fickell kind of challenges his defensive front to match them. And stopping that run game that Rutgers does, the linebackers a lot of times get the tackles, but it's really what the guys up front are doing, be it the interior guys or the edge guys, with contain. It's kind of what they do that kind of set the tone. So, I look at that defensive front as it being very encouraging. Elijah Hills, the transfer from FCS Albany, has been playing really well. He's been, he's probably emerging as probably one of their better, FCS or better just transfer pickups. He's been, sneaky good, and his role has been growing. So yeah, I think the defense is definitely a story here, and it's really kind of starting with what they're doing up front, and really containing teams with the run game. Last week was a big step.
Yeah, Kyle Monangai, the Rutgers running back, I mean, he led the Big Ten in rushing last year. He was second, was second coming into that game this year. and the Badgers held them in check both times. Just, that's back-to-back years where they've really shown up against this team. Different stories ahead. Northwestern, classic trap game if you want to go down that road with such a rugged close to this season. Do you have a spot in the press box in that makeshift stadium along the lakeshore, Mark? Where are they going to put you? I don't even know if there. I assume there's a press box, but I don't even know, man. Have you done the layout work?
Yeah, I am approved for a credential, although it took a little longer, and maybe that's just how they do it at Northwestern. Usually we find out our credentials are approved at least a couple weeks in advance. This week, we found out on Monday night. At least I got the email Monday night. And yeah, I don't know, maybe it's the old days where I can roam the sidelines, like at the high school games. No, I'm just joking. That stadium's not. It's not that bad. Actually, I'm actually looking forward to going down there to see how it looks. I mean, it looks very, very picturesque. It's off off Lake Michigan. It's going to be cozy. It's going to be something you don't see at the Big Ten level. And it seems like it's kind of giving Northwestern a home field advantage that maybe they typically don't get. It. The place seats 12,000, and they've been close to filling it, pretty much from what I can tell, so far this season. So I'm actually looking forward to getting down there.
Yeah, I would love to be there myself. Not going this week, but that is a very unique little experience that, of course, is only going to last for a couple seasons before Ryan Stadium is completed and they move back a little to a more traditional home, I suppose. Can this Badgers team, do you think, hang with Penn State the game after that? We'll maybe we're looking at it as a trap game because they have to beat Northwestern, but then can they actually beat those teams that come after? Can they? It's probably a better question to ask if you think they can beat Iowa and Indiana, or not Indiana, but drawing a blank. The other good one on the schedule, Nebraska. Yep, and obviously Minnesota at the end of the year. But it's probably a better question to ask if you think they're better than Iowa and Nebraska. But that's not the games. Those aren't the games still left in October. When this team gets one more chance here against Northwestern to maybe sort of build up the confidence that they have, do you think they can hang or maybe even beat Penn State? Is that a thought that's entered your mind?
I mean, a little bit. I mean, I wouldn't say I would think that they would. I mean, I think the game is getting more interesting, but again, the key is is what happens this week. It's, football is such a week to week thing in terms of you talk about the vibe and how people feel about the team. It's like, this evolving puzzle that, 1 week it looks great and then the next week it doesn't. So, I mean, honestly, I think right now I would say, Wisconsin, the way they're playing at home, has a real good chance of at least, putting up a good fight, maybe putting some pressure on Penn State to come in and make some plays. Right now, I don't think it would be the type of Alabama experience, or even the USC experience. I mean, I do see the team Wisconsin has, they're evolving, but again, we talk a week from now and they lay an egg at Northwestern, we're going to be thinking a whole different way.
Yep, it's back to talking about hot seats and like we were at the very beginning of the season. You're absolutely right. Northwestern game is very meaningful at this stage. Wasn't sure I would have said that or thought of it quite that way a couple weeks ago. I'm tempted to ask a little more about Braden Locke and where you think he's developed, but I think I'll ask it like this. You mentioned Elijah Hills. I think that guy has to count as maybe the biggest surprise as players go halfway through the season. A guy that I don't think we were really counting on as being one of the biggest impact transfers and who's putting himself in position to be like an all Big Ten type player. He's been so effective up there and a big energy guy too, for that matter. Who else really, Braden Locke, of course, fits this mold as well, but who else really jumps out at you is, I wasn't expecting this from that guy. Maybe it's Preston Zachman, who I know you wrote about on Wednesday at jsonline.com, but are there other guys that really have jumped out at you as like, these guys are showing something that we probably wasn't necessarily counting on?
Yeah. I mean, Zachman would be a good one because, he's a guy, you look at the snap count and you're like, wow, he's playing. He never leaves the field, I mean, he's up there playing, you got in terms of snaps played on the defense, you got Hunter Waller, who's your all Big Ten player. NFL future guy. And then next is Preston Zachman, who, just, he's played so well, you just can't get him off the field. So he's one for sure. Let's see who else. I mean, I would say, Cade Yakimelli, he's not a new guy, but
we haven't seen a lot of him lately, though. He's kind of lost his spot in the line, not for anything he did, it seems.
Yeah, I know, but he's doing a better job of making the most of his chances.
For sure.
Vinny Anthony. I mean, I don't know if we would have seen this, him as a big play threat. That it seems like he's just continuing to do. I mean, he's done it, 3 straight weeks now where he's getting, 25, these, over the top of the defense type of gains. So those are guys that come to mind. Let me think on the defensive side. We mentioned Elijah Hills. I mean, I think those are the big ones. I kind of joke on this one, but Atticus Bertram's, the punter, we kind of joked one day at the press box that he might be leading the team in turnovers forced because his punts, a lot of them, it seems like they're so hard for, opponents to handle, and they're taking these crazy bounces or they're getting muffed, so, you could even throw him in there. I mean, I think he's done
100%.
As far as special teams go. So, but those are a handful. But like I say, Elijah Hills is right at the top of that list, and Preston Zachman and Vinny Anthony.
Yeah, Bertram's having an incredible season. You're not going to get a whole lot of punter discourse anytime you're talking football, but he's been awesome. And we'll see what the swirling winds of Lake Michigan do for him as he and the Wisconsin Badgers get prepared to take on Northwestern. This is a big game on Saturday. They come back to Camp Randall Stadium the week after that under the lights to host Penn State. That is where the rubber really hits the road, if it hasn't already, with a very tough corridor of the schedule to close things down. He is Mark Stewart, Milwaukee Journal Sentinel beat reporter covering the Wisconsin Badgers. Find everything he has at jsonline.com. Thank you, Mark. We'll talk to you again next week.
All right. Hey, appreciate it.